Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I have filmmaker Nicholas Burns with me on Zoom. Hey, Nicholas.
Hey, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good, and it's good to talk to you. We just recorded a nice interview, a great interview about you and your film Intertitle. I'm happy to say Intertitle, the film I love. I was self-indulgent, read to you comments from our festival jury about Intertitle that is high praise and well earned, because Intertitle, actually last year in 2024, it played at Film Invasion Los Angeles and Sherman Oaks Film Festival. At Film Invasion Los Angeles, you took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Sound Design for a short film for your sound designer, Alex Michael Jones. And you also took home the Filmmakers Award for Outstanding Originality for a drama. And then 6 months later in December, that was in June, in December 2024, you took home the Filmmakers Award for Outstanding Writing, Arthouse Experimental. And that's for you, Nicholas Burns, as the writer. So, golf clap.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It was an honor being part of the festivals.
Intertitle's a great film, and if and when you put it online, you'll hopefully remember me and send an email and say, okay, here's a link, and there will be a clickable link to the film in the show notes, so people will appreciate that I'm not a crazy person, that it's a great film.
Yeah, I'll definitely share that once it's done. It should be up soon. It should be online soon.
Excellent. And if anyone, I highly recommend everyone listening, listen to the podcast before this one, where it is Nicholas's interview. This podcast, we're just going to chat about movies, because you're going to answer the Discover Indie Film 4 questions, which are: name 3 films that you love, name an underrated film, name an overrated film, and name a lesser-known film that people should seek out. I apologize for judging you, but you're such a nice person, you might not like the overrated. Am I right or wrong?
I think you're not wrong necessarily. I don't love talking crap about a movie, because I do know I have the theory that every movie is somebody's favorite movie. And more power to you if you like something that's garbage, but there is garbage out there, and I've got it too.
Well, then feel free to just. It's funny, because I was about to say, you can say a film's overrated that you really like, but there's films I really like, and I'm like, I love that movie. It should not have won Best Picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's those too. There's a wide range of.
But feel free to just say, actually, this film that everyone loves is crappy. Sometimes I let people change the question. They can alter that one to a guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasure Perfect. Almost made the list, but I was like, I don't know. You got to keep it to 4.
Yeah. No, I'll definitely I'll go off on some of these films, and I got some hot takes for you.
Awesome. All right. Well, you want to start with 3 favorites, three films that you love? Okay.
When I think about this question, my religiously, I kind of have to say Star Wars. And I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to include episodes 1 through 6. I defend George Lucas's prequels, and I think all 6 films are fantastic. But yeah, they're the reason I love movies. Star Wars. It's the first movie I saw in theaters, and the second film.
Wait! I'm gonna ask. I actually did interrupt you for real, even though I try not to interrupt people. All right, so we have to talk Star Wars for a second.
Okay, good.
When it was the first you saw in the theater, did you actually see them? What order did you see them in?
I was 4 years old when The Phantom Menace came out, and it was the first time I went to the theater. So I was that was the first just experience, and so.
Exactly. So it wasn't like you'd been a Star Wars fan, and then when Episode 1 came out,
no.
For you, Episode 1, you were a clean slate.
I was a clean slate, and I remember the moment I learned that Anakin turns into Darth Vader. I was devastated. And I was like, "How do you know that? The movies haven't come out yet." And they're like, "No, this is how it works. They already did, those movies." And so I remember that moment very well. It's
See, that is the
traumatized me.
right, and I think that probably made everything more special because in a way, also each film gets better that way.
Yes, I think there's something to be said for that. But I do find that, there's um there's a really great. I've watched them all back to back in the theater. I would, they where they twice now. I think twice in my life where I've sat in the theater and watched all six back to back to back, and they plays like one film. Like there's a real cohesiveness to all of it, and I could geek out for a long time on Star Wars, but
Even though
it's
Obi-Wan
always.
ages like 40 years in 10. Sorry. Just
Yes,
kidding.
well, you know what?
No, not 10,
He
like 18. 18. Luke is born. 18 years later, he's Luke. And somehow Ewan McGregor turned out Guinness. But you got to forgive that.
Yeah, listen, there's there's a lot that I could critique the films on, but I think they are the reason I love movies. And
I feel you. I feel you. They
yeah,
are wonderful. And even some of the sex, I'm with you. I'm with you.
yeah,
Obviously, I'm too old to accept the prequels because I saw
that's fine.
I saw a movie called Star Wars. It wasn't even A New Hope. I saw Star Wars in theaters in
Yes,
1979 at age 11 and was like, it's really hard to watch anything other than that. So anyway, all right. So
yeah.
that's your first.
So I will say Star Wars. The other one, I think, especially in regards to like how Intertitle, an influence on the Intertitle was The Passion of Joan of Arc by Carl Theodor Dreyer. It is just an astounding movie, and the best silent film ever made, one of the best movies ever made. And then a third one. Um, I just watched this recently, so and I'm looking at the Blu-ray on my table, Moonstruck. It's just such a amazing, perfectly written comedy, and every time I watch it, it just grows in my heart. And I'm going to go to Lincoln Center after this to see a movie, and I can't wait to walk through that plaza where Nick Cage and Cher um, had that great cinematic moment in front of the fountain. So Moonstruck, I'll put that as my third.
Wow, so interesting. I got to admit, I saw Moonstruck in theaters when it came out, and me and my punk ass friends, we went. We did that thing. We bought tickets to the film Siesta, and we watched Siesta, which was this
Yeah.
beautiful film with Ellen Barkin. And then
Mm.
we didn't feel like going to the car, so then it was like a big multiplex, and then we snuck into Moonstruck and sat in the back.
Oh, nice.
And I didn't love it, but sometimes you can't watch two in a row, especially if the theme really changes. So,
Yeah.
but I always
It's a
remember Nick
hard.
Cage shouting, "I lost my hand." It's like one of the
I lost
funniest
my
lines.
hand. I lost my bride.
It's so
It's
funny.
so great.
He is a genius.
He's so great in that film, and yeah, it grows. It's one of those like it first time you watch it, it's a little strange, and then it gets better every time. So
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Well, the next question is a film you feel is underrated.
okay, underrated. I think the one I can kind of talk about the most, I feel passionately about would be M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. I think it's an absolutely amazing film, and he gets a lot of comparisons, especially in that film, to Spielberg and to Hitchcock, and I think it's just as good as some of Hitchcock's films. It's just as good as some of Spielberg's film, and um, I think people who get hung up on the twist, spoiler alert, the twist about the water being the the
The answer.
poison to the aliens. I think miss a little bit of the the beautiful sort of spiritual logic that has in the film. It's also such a great reveal the way it's done. And I think it also does kind of, it doesn't have to, if they were desperate enough to go to a planet and invade this planet to harvest the people, they clearly didn't have another choice than to go to this planet. And the fact that there was water on it was maybe, probably a concern of these. Anyways, I could go into it, but I think it's an exceptionally well-made movie, and I've never tired of it. I watch it almost every year. So, Signs.
I remember really loving it. I remember really loving that film. Yeah. Yeah, Night Shyamalan is great.
He especially those first three films, 4 films of his, I think were really, you know, he has such a great voice, and he's just so sincere. There's no irony to his movies, and I think that's really appealing. These days especially.
So I would tease him if he were my friend that his cameo in Signs, he gave himself too much dialogue.
Yeah, I do think
his performances aren't great. That's all I'd say. But his films are.
I kind of agree that's not one of the best casting decisions he made. But at this point, I've just sort of it's just accepted into it, and it's not bad in a way that it's totally ruins that moment. He gets by.
I swear to God, sometimes I think the look on Mel Gibson's face is, wow, my director can't act. Because he's listening to him talk, and he has this look of amazement. And sometimes I think it's actually he's out of the moment, and he's like, I shouldn't have done this. But anyway, that's just me projecting.
I also have the same thought when they're all in the pizza shop, and then all of a sudden they look up and they see him, on the street, and they all just sort of look like deer in the headlights. And I always think, oh, they're just like, what is our director doing in the movie? He just walked into the shot.
So funny.
All
right. Well, that's Signs. Excellent. Very good film. Now you get to do Overrated.
Okay. This I'm gonna go with. I just saw this movie recently for the first time, and this might be sacrilegious. I don't know where you stand on this movie, but I think The Untouchables is a bad movie. And if you want to watch a good movie like that, it's LA Confidential. The Untouchables. I was ready for a good, fun mobster movie, and I was not given that, unfortunately. So.
Oh, you got no argument from me.
Oh, there we go. Good.
No argument from me. I amusingly, we were talking about college when we were not recording. Yeah. They played that at my college because it came out, I think, my freshman year. Sounds about right to me. And oh my God, I'm just going to let it all out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever really liked a Brian De Palma movie.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to go further with this. I was on this track and seeing how you felt. I like Carrie. I think Carrie's really good, but I watched Blowout recently. I didn't like that. What else? Phantom of the Paradise I think is decent, but I think it's a better musical than it is a movie. Carrie's the only one I think is really good, and maybe most of that's due to Stephen King.
Yeah, whatever. I don't have to lay it on. I know some people love him. I know people love him. But every time I see a De Palma, I walk away from it going, I guess it's not for me. Just not for me.
Yeah, he's got his fans, and I think that's great. I can't say that I'm right all the time about my takes on movies, but I do think I've never wanted to watch any of them again except for Carrie.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember. Well, anyway, we can move on. Yeah. We can move on to your last one. I was going to mention Body Double, but now I have mentioned it, but I will move on.
I will
So
check it out. I still will check out the other sort of more his like erotic thrillers and stuff. I think I'll might check those out still.
again, Body Double should have been fucking great.
Oh
Should have
yeah.
been great, but it's kind of not. So anyway,
Yeah.
last question is a lesser known film that people should seek out.
Okay. For this, I'm gonna pick another movie I saw recently just because I don't know if this is lesser seen, but I believe it is because I've never talked to anybody. Nobody's ever told me about this movie until recently, which is Bound, the Wachowski film that they made before The Matrix. And it is an extraordinarily tightly controlled thriller. It is this just amazing, balance of tones, and it's well plotted, well crafted, and for a first film, is really nothing short of extraordinary. And so I would recommend, that movie to anybody who's looking for a fun night. It was great.
That's a great recommendation. Yeah, when it came out, if you were an indie film person, it was a big movie when it came out.
Yeah.
But I don't know if a lot of people, unless you were my age when it came out, like it was.
Yeah.
It's not like it was Universal, right? It's not like it was like number one at the box office, like Matrix was a couple years later. But it's such a
Exactly.
good film, and I don't know the story behind it, but I always felt like they had written it so that if they had to, they could make it for like 15 grand. Like it all takes place in
Right.
one apartment. But then they got a bunch of great actors involved and they got a bigger budget and they made it look fancier and better. But I always
Yeah.
felt like it was written as a single location indie film that if they had to, the Wachowskis could have just pumped out for like pocket change, like Clerks.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. The story I heard, I was just watching the bonus features. Lana and Lily Wachowski went to, shop the film around their script. They had written some other script, so they were able, they had an agent and stuff. They went to Dino De Laurentiis, the kind of famous international producer, and they were pitching the film, and they were about, it's about this woman who is, like really attracted, sees this woman on the elevator, is really attracted to her, but her, husband is in the mob. And then Dino De Laurentiis says, stop. They're both women. Here's $3 million. And so, which sounds right for if De Laurentiis's movies. He, is a little, he's a little skeevy, but they got their movie made, and it's pretty well made. It is like, it reminds me of like Blood Simple, the Coen brothers' first movie too. That you know, um, you know, really works well on the budget that it has. It doesn't feel like it's kind of trying to be something bigger or something like that. But yeah,
Oh, it's a great movie. It's a great movie.
yeah.
All right, well, that got we did all four. And I just have to add that I mean Bound is an excellent film,
Yeah.
and Gina Gershon is like one of my peers. Like she's my age and she's from the San Fernando Valley. So like,
Oh,
way to
nice.
go, Gina!
Yes.
So
She's so great in that film. And
kind of feel like, well, I'll virtue signal and hop on my soapbox and say if Gina Gershon was a guy, she would have been as big as Tom Cruise. But
you know what?
because she was a beautiful woman,
Yeah.
Hollywood treated her a different way, and they put her after that. I think she got Showgirls and shit like that.
Yeah, the both of them,
Jennifer Tilly is awesome.
Jennifer Tilly, she had Bullets Over Broadway, which was like this big moment. And, I think it's one of those things where, Hollywood sometimes doesn't know what to do with talent like that and how to place them in the right roles. And Showgirls, of course, wasn't, a great career move for many of the people there. But it's weird. I feel like people like that movie now. I haven't seen it, so I couldn't say. But
Yeah, they might like it for the ironically, maybe, but
maybe,
I don't
yeah,
know. I just can't. It just it bothers me, bugs me a little.
sure, yeah, yeah.
That oh, guess what? Gina Gershon went to Emerson College.
Oh, look at that! Yeah, Emerson Mafia. Let's
Grew up
go.
uh, a San Fernando Valley. I'll just say it. A San Fernando Valley Jew like me,
Yeah,
and then went to Boston Emerson College. How cool is that? All right.
that is so cool. Good for her.
She tied it all to you tied it all together. You were a genius
It's
with that pick.
Yes, exactly. So
Totally
yeah,
planned it out.
Bound. Check it out. And I'll say this: I think it's the best movie that the Wachowskis ever made. I think it's better than The Matrix. Maybe shots fired there, but Matrix is a good movie. It's a great movie. But I kind of like this more, and I kind of wish if the Wachowskis make another movie, it's another sort of white knuckle thriller. I love their sci-fi stuff's great, but go maybe a Back to Roots movie would be good.
I'm with you. That I bet they know they're due for that because they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger
Yeah,
with those Matrix sequels and stuff. Although I loved Cloud Atlas. I think I loved Cloud
I
Atlas.
hadn't. Yeah, I didn't see it. I know there's definitely a lot of people who who are big fans of the book and that movie, and so I'm definitely going to watch it at some point. But
It's just funny because but I did see it after everyone shat on it and everyone said it was bad.
yeah,
And then you see it and you're like, they're wrong. This is great. They're just not smart enough. It's just one of those
yeah,
litmus test movies. They made something a little too complicated and interesting and smart for the average moviegoer.
exactly. I think that especially people who I know people who love that book in a way that is religious. If there's something about that text and that stories that are, I'm hoping that I can get on that wavelength when I do watch it, though. I hope I don't, watch it and kind of be like, I don't know, if this can't. There's a certain, quality of the movie that I might not get into, but we'll see. I'll check it out.
For sure. Understood. Yeah, you gotta complete your Wachowski viewing.
I do. Yeah, almost there.
All right, there we go. All right, well, I will wrap us up. First of all, I'll thank you, Nicholas. Thank you for taking the time and sharing your hot takes, and especially the Star Wars 1 to 6. It totally checks out, by the way. Checks out for me.
Okay, thank you.
Watching him in order.
Yeah.
And I realize now I failed my kid because I had her watch the original trilogy first, then go back and watch the prequels with her
Oh,
because Force Awakens was coming, and I knew we were going to go see it because
yeah.
she was the age where she was into movies. So I was like, okay, we're not going to Force Awakens until you've boned up on the reason why we're going.
Yeah. Well, I think that's fine. I think, if she comes around at some point to the prequels on her own time, I hope they speak to her the way they spoke to me. But I know a lot of Star Wars fans who don't like anything that was made after 1983, really, or 1980 from Star Wars. There's some Star Wars fans. It's the two first movies and that's it, and like the rest they kind of don't like. But
Well, they're fools if they
I'm not
don't
one
love
of
Rogue
those.
One. They're fools.
I
Rogue
agreed.
Rogue One might be, in my opinion, the best film in the entire Star Wars universe.
Oh, that's a good take. I've just watched Andor recently. The
Andor
show
is the
that
best thing ever done.
Andor is the best. I mean, since Disney got the rights to Star Wars, it's the best thing I think they've done. And I'm so excited. Season 2 is coming out in a week, and
It was
it's
amazing
amazing.
storytelling. And
Oh, yeah.
finally, we get to see life under the Empire. And that it was really,
Yes.
that it was like working for corporate America, for Pete's sake. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
So brilliant.
It's so well made, and yeah, I hope that they make more Star Wars in that vein. You know, it doesn't need to be as dark as Andor, but you know, with a yeah, that kind of level of storytelling. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, deep down, I just have to accept as a film nerd who was, I'll say it again, 9 years old when the first Star Wars came out.
Yeah,
They just have the wrong people in charge of of that universe. You know, they need their you know, you need someone who's actually a fan and understands what was good and
yeah.
what was not good. But they just look at it as IP to be maximize the profit out of the IP.
Yeah. I mean that's my argument for the first, you know, six movies is there's an auteur kind of behind the prequels. There's a voice, there's something that's not corporate. It's, you know, it's George Lucas making the movie he wanted to make for all six of those movies. And I think that's you know, pretty, you know, you forget about that in this age of like filmmaking by committee, you know, and whether it works for you or not is fine. But you know, as if it's this is the way he envisioned Star Wars to be, and I think one serious captain in on the ship is, you know, it's good for um, you know, these big sweeping stories. You know, one writer director, you know, or at least one major producer or whatever it is. But yeah, couldn't agree. Couldn't agree
I'm
more.
yeah. Well, I just wish it was Tony Gilroy then. I wish they would just put Tony Gilroy in
Yes.
charge of the entire Star Wars universe. But odds
Yes.
are Tony wants to do other things with his life besides Star Wars.
I think he I thought I heard that he didn't even know much about Star Wars before
He wasn't
doing.
a fan. He actually wasn't a fan.
Yeah,
He just is a great storyteller, but he must have done his
exactly.
homework because
I think so.
Andor
Yeah.
turned out Andor. Oh my God, we're getting so nerdy now. I mean, most of the sequels and prequels and stuff added inconsistencies and confusion to the universe in a lot of ways. And
Mhm.
Andor answered questions we needed answered and patched up holes and as
Yeah.
did Rogue One. I mean, I admit that like I have more than twice in this household I made the two lovely people who live with me watch Rogue One and Star Wars: A New Hope in order in the same night
Oh my
because
gosh,
that's
that's
the
so
best cut
great.
of all time, isn't it? Like,
It's amazing. It's that last scene in Rogue One is one of the best you know, moments in all of Star Wars. It was the first time that somebody had made Darth Vader scary again, you know, and that, you know, after becoming such a, you know, cliche, you know, the dark deep breathing voice and all of that, how do you make this guy scary again? And they did it. And yeah, it's a tribute to you know, the Tony Gilroy and, you know, everybody who worked on that movie. But it's, and the score for that movie for Rogue One is fantastic. Anyway, yeah, we are. I don't know if anyone doesn't like Star Wars who's listening to this, they have tuned out a long time ago.
they are
But
like, yeah, these dudes have lost it. They're, you know. By the way,
yeah,
I really loved it once when a guest on this podcast, when asked what is an overrated movie, they just said everything Star Wars, and I was like, valid, valid.
yeah,
You know, there's
I
too many
that's
people like us for them to not feel it's all overrated. But
I think so. I don't mind. I can't. You can't let that get to you. You know, you got to let
yeah,
people have their.
no, and this is art, and it's subjective. So you know,
Yeah.
I'm well aware that someone's going to say to me someday, Brian De Palma's the best director of all time, and you just don't get it. And I'm like, I know, I don't get it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Heck, I'm aware he actually made Scarface. I did love Scarface in high school, but upon
Yes.
review, I'm like, it's really cheesy.
I think that's the thing. Like I was watching The Untouchables and I said, if I was a 10-year-old boy, I think I might have liked this. But, you know, I'm not. And I think he doesn't have he's compared a lot to, the Hitchcock and to Scorsese, and there really just isn't that I don't know. I'm going to get a lot of hate for shitting on.
No, thankfully,
De Palma,
people. I've yet to hear of even the person who said Star Wars is overrated. Like, more than one person has said that, actually. And I don't think there's any hate mail related to this podcast, because
good.
Just listened to by your peers, indie filmmakers mostly. So, although who knows? Every once in a while I check the stats. Someone from Singapore will listen to like 100 and something episodes, like in the last month.
Oh, wow!
I was like, I got a fan in Singapore. Who knew?
That Singapore crowd.
All right, well, let me finish this up. All right, so
okay.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Nicholas is not on social media, which I think is great. But you are doing a website sometime.
I will have a website.
So your website will be
soon.
A clickable link someday. And by the way, this won't, it takes us a couple weeks to get these out. We're banking a lot of these so that I can take 6 weeks off before the next festival.
Oh, nice.
So it won't be out for a while.
6 weeks. I hopefully it should be out when this comes out.
Oh, that'd be sweet. So then go to the show notes and click the link and watch Intertitle and everything else Nicholas has done. In the meantime, this is the Discover Indie Film podcast. You can learn all about it if you go to discoverindiefilm.com. On social media, it's always at DIFwins. Intertitle, the film that played at Sherman Oaks Film Festival and Filmvasion Los Angeles, and how I met Nicholas. You can learn about Filmvasion Los Angeles that we hold every June. This year's the 10th anniversary. If you go to filminvasionla.com, and it's at FilmVasionLA on social media. Sherman Oaks Film Festival is every December, so you can learn about that one if you go to ShermanOaksFF.com, and it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And that's good enough. I won't even mention Peru, but I just mentioned Peru. So if you go to Filmvasion LA, you'll notice at the top it says Filmvasion-LA, Filmvasion-Lima. Because January 26th, going to South America, watching some movies.
Go. That sounds great.
All right. Nicholas, thank you so much.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for listening.